Well, it is 3 o'clock, and you're so welcome to today's Room Junkie show. And I am just beyond thrilled to have my wonderful guest here today. This lady has so many strings to her bow, I don't even know where to start. She's a communications expert, she's an author, she's a speaker, she's a former journalist, she's a former news reporter, she's a proud mother of 4 adult children. Shall I call them children? They'll always be our children.
Young adults. Young adults.
Young adults, yeah, they prefer that. And she's the other half of our own known and loved dragon, Gavin Duffy. Orlaith Carmody, you're so welcome today.
Well, it's lovely to be on here with you, Anne. It's such a lovely, pleasant hour. I've started tuning into it myself when I'm free in the afternoon, and it's gorgeous. You do it so well.
Well, I don't know about that, but it's people are loving it, and I'm loving it as well. But your house fascinates me, Orla. It really does. It's you're privileged to live there. I said to you earlier, you don't own that house. That house actually owns you. It's that sort of a house. Will I pronounce it right? Kilsharvan House?
Kilsharvan House, yeah. I always say you don't own a house like this. You have custody of it for a short while. And you're here, and it's going to be here. It was here long before you. It's going to be here long after you. So you're lucky to have custody of it and look after it well and share it with as many people as possible while you have it. And then it'll go on to somebody else. But it is beautiful. It dates from, the main part of the house is Regency. The front of it has the bow-fronted, very typical Regency windows. It dates from about 1820. But there's an old part of the house, a kind of a little wing, and that we're told dates back maybe to 1700, which is extraordinary to be in a house that old. And then the back of the house was put on in 1880. So they built these houses in phases or stages, and they evolved as the family and the business and whatever was being done in the house went along. But it has an incredible history. Yeah, it's lovely.
Oh my goodness. And did I spot a church or something that looked a little bit like a church or a Gothic window? Yeah.
Yeah, we have there's an old church and an old mill at the back of the premises as well. We're on the River Nanny. And at one time, there was about 13 working mills on the River Nanny. And ours is one of the last ones that's fully intact. So we restored it there a few years back. And it's like a sort of just an extra big room. But there's a fully working mill wheel in it underneath. Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. Oh, what a precious, precious, precious property. But we talk about lots today, but we're talking about your favorite room. And this really intrigues me because I noticed, I had a peek at all the photographs, and some of the house is quite formal, Downton Abbey-esque in a very good way. I mean, your stairs, that Gone with the Wind stairs with the paneling, the day your daughter gets married and walks down there in a wedding dress, everybody will cry. But you tell me about your favorite space, because it is definitely more relaxed, it's more informal, but it still works really, really well with the other part of the house, which is no mean feat to achieve.
Yeah, well, because the house is a heritage property, and because it's, there was kind of all sorts of restrictions around doing it up when we did it 20 years ago. So we couldn't really change the footprint of the house, and we didn't want to.
Why would you?
We were so lucky that, to get a house of this age with no dry rot, no damp, all the cornicing intact, like it was incredible condition. But the one area at the back of the house that we did want to change was the family area. So if you can imagine a very big old-fashioned kitchen with this ancient, huge, big old range in it.
That we didn't by that range. What is it? It's not an agate. What is it?
It's an eagle range. It's an eagle range, and it dates again from about 1880.
And is that solid fuel, obviously?
It's not working. I mean, we polished it up. It's an antique. It's a museum piece in the middle of our kitchen, but it's not.
Stunning, though. It's a beautiful focal point, and you've got that lovely old mellow brick behind it as well. It's really lovely. And your island, I love, because it's quite contemporary. Really, it's got a navy island with a white quartz top, and I can imagine the animated conversations and debate held around that island on a daily basis in your house.
Well, that's why we wanted to really make this one part of the house function as the family area. And it was the one place where we kind of knocked out old pantries and sculleries and made it into a big open space. So the kitchen is exactly as it was in 1880, but the rooms around it that you've seen, I've shown you the pictures of the family room. That area was a kind of a little warren of sculleries and pantries, and we opened it all out and added extra light. And it's a very big open space, and it's where we live as a family. And, we have the heating in the house on a zoned kind of a way, so that we don't have to heat the formal rooms if we're not using them. And so we live as a family in that big space. And you saw there's a pool table smack in the middle of it.
I love that. I have 3 sons
there all the time.
Yes. I love that. I can just imagine, and the kids coming in no more than we did in our house. with their friends and everybody playing pool together and people hanging out in different parts of this area. I've noticed too, there was a lovely wrought iron staircase going upwards. Where does that lead?
Yeah, it's just a little spiral staircase, and it goes up to another TV room directly above the main family room. But that area took a huge amount of wear and tear. Like, I did up the house 20 years ago, and all of the formal rooms are perfect. They're like the day they were done. But the family room was well bashed because of dogs and cats and children and friends sleeping on sofas. So I did it all up about 3 years ago. So what you're seeing now is fairly freshly done. It's about 2-3 years, and it still looks very bright and clean. But it was the one part of the house that was really beginning to show its wear and tear.
But you know what, with kids and dogs, you wouldn't want to have it any other way. But I'm fascinated because you've taken in you've been brave in your choice of colours, but you said that David Murtha says that you were the most decisive client he ever had. And I love that, because, to be honest, an indecisive client for an interior designer is very, very, very difficult. So somebody who knows what they want and who recognises their own style. You actually said that now this I couldn't believe this, because I renovated an old house in Foxrock. I wasn't working and I only had 2 kids at the time. You were working full-time at RTE. You had 4 children, and you renovated and restored 3 large houses in Ballsbridge.
That's right. Yeah. I mean, I say youth is great. I obviously had the energy then that I can only dream about now. So that's over 20 years ago. But yeah, we bought a lovely red brick in Ballsbridge, and we had just done it up, and we were offered like a really, really strong rent on it. This was Celtic Tiger era, and property prices, the whole thing was booming. And we were offered a really good rent on it. And we thought, you know what, as I said, an embassy type rent, we'll just take it and we'll do this again. And we found a house up the road and started again. And I was moving bags and baggage and pregnant and the whole lot. But, you know, I was always, working full time in RTE as a reporter at the time. And then at night time, I would be up a ladder, you know, hanging curtains somewhere with the kids playing on the floor around me. And it just was, you know, we were working for our future. We were putting the effort in, and we just kept doing that. We did it 3 or 4 times and turned over houses. And I think I learned an awful lot about it. So that by the time we came here to Kilsharvan, I was working with David Murtha, and he laughed at me. He said, he would hand me sort of 5, you know, options of colours. I'd say yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. Right, next room. Yes, no. I just knew what I wanted.
Dream client. Yes.
Yeah.
But you know what? Your organizational skills as well. People think of interior design as being all about the frills and the flowers. It's not. It's all about the steps that get you to that stage. It's about contacts, really trusted contacts. So you were building up your network of people. So by the time you got to this very special house, you had the people that you needed at your doorstep. But it must have been in your DNA as well, Orla.
I think it is. Yeah, I think my mum, bless her, she's 90 and in great form, thank God. But she always says that, yes, she says I was very artistic as a child. And sometimes I don't really remember that. But she said, I was a creative. I was always making something. She said I was very good at dressmaking. And I don't recall that hardly because it's so long ago, and lots of things like that. So I clearly was creative. And then, I mean, in my own work and professional life, I've managed a lot of, campaigns for clients and done all of that in the whole communications and strategy field. So, you develop that. And as you say, so much around design is making decisions, and so much around even laying out your new kitchen. Where do you put the PowerPoints? Where do you put this? Yes or no? That wall or that wall? It's decision. And when we were doing this house, it was such a big house. Again, worked with a fabulous team, fabulous architect, John Keoghan. And, John would say, again, we need decisions here, decisions. And it was, I could do that very quickly. When I was project managing it, I could do that. So I found by that stage, I'd given up work. I had 4 babies at that stage, and I had retired from RTE and was full-time with the family by the time we came down here. So I was able to put on the hard hat and be full-time on the project for the few months it took to get us into the house, so we were in just in time for the millennium. That was 2000, and we were literally in the door that Christmas. It was gorgeous. Yeah.
Well, certainly a house for a party. My goodness. But you trusted yourself and you knew your own style. Earlier, I was telling you, I'm actually launching an online interior design school on the 26th of this month, because I have so many people who are building and they are indecisive, and they just, to me, good interior design is all about knowledge and confidence, and just trusting your own style. So you know your style. So many people don't. So if anybody is watching, send me a direct message, because I have something very special up my sleeve. And some of the girls have been doing this already, and they have genuinely come back to me with the most amazing feedback, and they're loving it, and I'm loving it too. So it's all about, you know, so many of us can become your own interior designer. When I did up our house in Dublin, I was a nurse, Orla, and then I was a stay-at-home mum with my boys. But I discovered this passion and realized, you know what, this is what I was meant to do and be. And my first client, it was a bit crazy. I got a call one day from a researcher saying, we're doing a show for RTE called Show House. Would you take part? And I said, absolutely no way. And he was really insistent. Anyway, long story short, I said, okay. And I did it. And it was Shane Filan from Westlife who owned the house. So that was my first house, first brief. It was crazy. Baptism of fire. But I loved it.
I'm thrilled to hear about your design school, and I'll be telling loads of people about it.
I will too.
No, it's such a wonderful idea, because during lockdown, there's an awful lot of people painting and decorating and doing DIY in a way they never did before, because we're looking around and we're seeing things and we're trying things out. And, you know, it's wonderful, as you say, it's just confidence. And if they do your course with you, do your class, they'll just get the idea, you know what, I can do this. It's not rocket science. I just need to tackle it. I have found myself every spare moment upcycling. I'm mad into upcycling furniture.
I've seen some of the pictures, Orla, because we're friends on Facebook. Yeah,
I restore furniture. I find old things. We have a lot of old buildings and sheds attached to this property. There's stable yards, and you know, I love to get a skip and clear them out. And one day I had the boys there a few weeks back clearing out a stable yard where there was this old junk, and we're just getting rid of it into the skip. And the next thing is this table is going into the skip, and I'm going, whoa, stop! And I literally dive into the skip. I said, I have become a skip diver. And I took
that was your good eye, recognizing that piece had provenance and needed to be restored. Yes,
it was a beautiful old mahogany table, but covered in every manner of dust and dirt, so the boys wouldn't have recognized it. But I took it out and I restored it, and I have it in our living room. It was a beautiful drop leaf solid mahogany table, 2 beautiful drawers at the front, brass casters, all polished up. It is a delight. And they're laughing at me. How are we supposed to know, Mum?
I know.
But I love doing that, and I love doing that work. And I think a lot of people do, but they need to just have the confidence to do it. You know, I mentioned our kitchen area, and behind the kitchen area that I've shown you that the pictures of is, again, sort of little old sculleries and boot rooms and pantries and what have you. And they hadn't been painted for 20 years, and they were absolutely full of mud and junk and rubbish. And I tore into them a couple of weeks ago and did them up. And I was nearly sorry. It was the biggest job I ever took on myself, as in physically painting and scraping and filling myself. And I did this whole area over the course of maybe a week, 2 weeks. And they're all laughing at me here in the family, saying, every time they look at me, I'm upside down under a press with a paintbrush in my hand. But it's a part of the house you use all the time. You're in and out of it every day. And it gives me such pleasure walking through it now. It is clean and bright. Yeah.
But it's satisfying when you do it yourself. And you're right.
Very satisfying.
People who never lifted a paintbrush are doing things and reconfiguring spaces. And it's just such a strange time. And I mean, you're so involved, your business has changed as well. I presume you're running the business from the house now, and online is everything.
It's extraordinary how much it's changed, because we're in training and development. I suppose every penny I've ever earned in my entire life has been through communications, because I was in journalism, and then I took the few years out with my family. And then by then I joined the business that my husband runs, which is training and development, and I got involved in that. But it was, it's extraordinary that, you know, so much of what we did was in a classroom, in front of people, or speaking on a stage with an audience of a few hundred people, or, you know, facilitating a whole workshop where this senior leadership team are trying to develop their strategy for the years ahead. And all of this in person, online, you know, right there in the room. And suddenly we're trying to do the same stuff online. You know, the one-on-one executive coaching or mentoring or training works fine. But, you know, the bigger groups, you know, we're getting used to it, and it's getting better and it's getting easier, and companies are coming back to doing it. At first of all, training just seemed to stop. People just couldn't cope with the lockdown, or they were focused so much on just sort of keeping the shutters up and the lights on, that training around that kind of work was kind of, a nice to have, but it wasn't a must have. But now I find, because this has gone on so much longer, it's come right back around again. And now I was doing a presentation workshop there for a group of people there the day before yesterday. And it was like, I had about 30 people online, and it worked fine. And we broke them into rooms, and, you know, we were able to do the discussions and the breakouts and all of that. But I find it's harder. It's harder for everybody, and maybe we're all getting a bit fed up with it. I'd love to be back in a room with people, because I think that part of it, the joy in it for me, is working with people and having the chat on the coffee break and having the relationship build up. That is always going to be slightly at a distance online. But look, it is what it is. We have to make the best of it.
And I think we are, I think, in fairness to everybody, but there is a tiredness at the moment. People are definitely fatigued. I know that. So that's why I'm trying very hard at 3 o'clock to keep the energy up, to keep amazing people like yourself to come in and inspire. And lots of comments here, but you know what? I'll reply to them all later, because we're going to run out of time. But I can just imagine life in your house, because you're such a strong, formidable, eloquent person. So is Gavin. Your kids are probably exactly the same. So I'd say lots of high energy in your house.
There is, yeah, and there's great discussions. And there's one thing certainly with all our kids, they're all brilliant communicators, and they're very open. And
I wonder why.
Yeah, they're they're really good. And when I think about, you know, when we were teenagers, we were maybe more closed, or we didn't want our parents to know a lot of stuff. And this generation are very open. I love that about them. They don't hide what they're doing. They share it with you. If they get stuff wrong, they tell you so. You know, they try and learn from it, they move on. And that's the wonderful thing I think about this generation. And they're finding it really tough. I mean, my heart goes out to any of them who are in first year in college this year, which thankfully I didn't have. Imagine first year in college and you've never understood what college life is like, and you've waited all your life for it.
And you're in your bedroom on your own.
Yeah. Or leaving cert year, or I really feel for kids at those kind of junctures where it's difficult for them. I think for us as adults, or mature adults, you know, we sort of are more philosophical about it, and we say it's awful, it's tough, but we've got to get on with it and make the most of it. I sort of feel for young people. I think maybe they think their life is passing them by, you know, and it's not. It's only now, and it's temporary. And we have to keep reminding ourselves this too will pass. It'll get better, you know.
Yesterday I was speaking to Helena Carmody, who's a fertility expert, and I know that a lot of women are panicking because they're getting to that age in life where fertility is an issue, and they're not meeting anybody, and they're not having relationships, and our life has changed completely. And I think of the mothers homeschooling as well and trying to run a business from the kitchen table with a few children. It's hard, but you know what? But we are resilient, I know, and we're always a lot stronger than we think we are. I 2 years ago, maybe it's 3 years ago now, my husband almost died, or he was airlifted to Galway in a helicopter with a friend of ours. 2 consultants went with him. They told me he had a 2% chance of survival, and he survived. But I learned something about myself that day. We are all, whatever life throws at you, you actually have the courage and the strength in yourself to overcome whatever life throws at you.
I think you're so right. I think we have to take what we can from this time and really learn from it. And one of the things I think we've all learned is that family is so important, that how we spend our lives on a day-to-day basis, and you appreciating your husband, appreciating your family, appreciating what we have. And for me, and this lovely house that I'm so fortunate to have custody of, as I say, for a short time, you know, we were on the brink of moving. We had more or less decided we were going to downsize and we were going to leave. A couple of years back, we put the house in the market. We said, we need to go back to Dublin because our business is in Dublin. We're driving up and down that road all the time. Our family, you know, they're all in college and they're in Dublin. And we were literally sale agreed when COVID struck. And we just paused and said, hold on a second now, we better wait and see where all this goes before we go ahead with this. And after a few weeks or months negotiating, we just said to the other side, really, we can't do this. And they, funnily enough, agreed. They didn't want to do it either. They were on that brink of making this big move and they didn't want to do it either. So we all just pulled back. And now here we are a year down the road and we're saying, thanks be to God we didn't move. We've had the privilege of being in this in lockdown where there's space for everybody and we have outdoor space. And we've just sort of said, you know, we're not returning to doing business the way we were doing it. We've put a lot of it online. It has worked out very well. We're keeping it that way. I'm not going to tear around the country I mean, I'm getting to an age, I don't want to be tearing around the country all the time. But, you know, I mean, we may need to have the downsizing conversation again, but that is not going to be for 10 years now. We've decided, you know what, this is absolutely fine. And we were getting things wrong, moving our lives to where our business and our work was, instead of saying, hold on a second, move our work to where we live. And that's a major thing for us. And that's a lovely thing to take out of COVID, that realization, and that we were so close to actually changing our whole lifestyle for the wrong reasons. Now we realize. So COVID brought that home to us. And I think for everybody, there'll be a lot of things that they learned through COVID. I hope. And we'll look back at this time and say, well, I learned what was important. I learned about my family. I learned about the things that matter to us. I really hope that comes out of it, and we can look back at it with some degree of, you know, well, we got some good out of it, that it wasn't all bad, you know.
Oh, I think you're so right. I think all of us will have got to know each other, ourselves internally, a lot better. I think we're going to be happier and more content with less. We're not going to go crazy shopping. The only thing I think we will do is holiday as much as we can when this is over.
Oh, but, I think those planes out of here will be when we can travel again. I think we're all longing for some sun, or longing for the ski slopes or whatever it might be.
Two bucket lists. One is to go straight to Richard in Alice Springs in Australia, and the other, we used to live in Bermuda. He was actually born there, and I want to go back there. That's the two things that are keeping me going. But Orlaith Carmody, I've never met you before. I've never spoken to you until today, and I feel like I know you. It's and that smile of yours would light up any room. It's lighting up everybody's screens.
Well, likewise, Anne, I've watched your work and admired it so much, and likewise, I feel I know you. So it is lovely to meet you in this way.
Well, from the bottom of my heart, I absolutely thank you. I really do. You're a busy lady, and you've given up all this time to inspire. Michelle Duffy-Rudden, I think she's a buddy of Gavin's. She's there. Isn't that amazing? What is she saying? I'll have to read her comment. Isn't that amazing how it all worked out? Just fill it full of grandchildren now, Orla. I was thinking the same thing.
That's the plan.
One of them might take it over. Who, you know, wouldn't that be something?
You never know. You never know.
Everybody is... Jane Canning, who's in Dublin. Orla and Gavin kindly welcomed a group of ICA ladies to visit their house a few years ago and provide us with beautiful scones and tea and coffee. A truly magnificent house. Well, that's a lovely tribute.
That's the point. You have to open it. You have to share it. So we were all happy to do that.
Well, listen, Orla, thank you so much. You're a hard act to follow. I've got a lighting specialist called Pamela Cull on tomorrow in Cork, and we're going to be talking about what not to do with lighting and what to do with lighting and the order to do with lighting and everything to do with lighting, because it's so important. But thank you so much. That was an absolute pleasure. So over and out, girls. I'll see you all tomorrow at 3 o'clock. And stay safe and stay fabulous. And I shall end the broadcast right now.